China is an extremely big advertising market. I think it's soon going to be the largest. I think by 2014, that region is going to be number one, if I remember the statistics right. However, it's in terms of its sophistication of content, it is not there yet. But in terms of sophistication of format, which is digitization, etc., it is way ahead. So that's kind of a very interesting gap. Whereas when you look at India, where I come from, the content sophistication is far ahead of the format sophistication, which is a reflection of the kind of development model of the two countries. As human beings, we are very passionate. So when we see something, we are like kids. When we see something new, we just believe that the world is going to be exactly like this. So like science fiction, even toothpaste will become digital, and everything will become digital, which I think is true. I think digital will come into our lives in a big way, but we have to pepper it with some caution as to how much, because and we all know that too much of information about us anyway makes us, too much of information and predictive recommendations to us already makes us not very comfortable about things. So when we assume that big data is going to take care of everything, I think again that is it going to be like that? And I take analogy from a movie which I like a lot, and I just try to develop these slides while sitting there, is that when everything becomes digital, I think there's going to be a premium on not being predictable. And that I think not many people realize today, that there is going to be a charm, like there is always, for things which are more random or things which are more instinctive or intuitive. So I think there will be return of intuition with a vengeance in some way, because there are always people who don't believe in logic and predicting about future by largely basing things on the past behavior. It's difficult for me to believe that. Maybe we might change as a species because we are going to become augmented beings. We might be different, but I don't know how exactly that's going to happen. And that's why when I come to the first question about what could be the future of advertising, the first thing that comes to my mind is polarization. I see two kinds of advertising organizations and business organizations in the future. I see one which is what I call the the data drives ideas world, where you have big corporations with big infrastructure and technology and big predictive mechanisms to map what the customer is going to do in the next 6 months, 1 year, next week, so on and so forth. And they will be actually supported by large data-driven network agencies who have that capability or believe in that kind of way of doing things. I think initially they will have phenomenal growth in business, and it will plateau after some time, because if the tools are same, the outcomes are going to be similar in more or less. And how different will be an idea based on information which is the same remains to be seen. We don't know about that. And then I believe there might be another world of what I call the antipole, that where ideas will shape the data. These are people who will not be as much, they will be having the technology, but they will not base their decisions entirely on data. And they will actually do things which might shape behavior in a much bigger way than what it does for the first group. This is of course the good old risk. We live in this world. So that's one thing which I think might happen in the future. However, I believe that ideally it should be something a little different from this, which should actually be a combination of these things, because again we don't want to simplify things and make it into two poles. So far we're talking about digital, then we say no, there's one world which is digital and one world which is not digital. It doesn't really work like that. I believe that we might have a new kind of full service advertising communications organization, where everything that we offer will be driven by creativity and knowledge of technology. So these two things will work very closely. When does technology shape ideas and when do ideas shape technology will be difficult to imagine, because we'll have a whole bunch of new talent coming into our organizations to work on these things. So we'll have creative people, not classically as art and copy, but they could be coming from any kind of background. They could be creative media guys who are specialists in peer-to-peer distribution of information. They could be conversational specialists who know the fact that customers are actually media. Customers are actually the brand. They might think like that. And we also have a new bunch of people which are actually already joining. I mean, in China it's happening in our organization. Technology guys are coming into our organization to work on things and broadly actually help us think in a new way and help us explore the possibilities that technology offers. So that's to the second question. I also believe that there are few other things which will happen. We'll have a much deeper, I think this point has been covered in the first session, much deeper collaboration with customers and much deeper collaboration with our clients. So we'll actually work much closely with our clients to develop not just new campaigns and ideas, but also products. And what I say here is we actually might generate and co-own IP with our clients. And I think some agencies are already doing that, but it will become much bigger than what it is right now. Because when tools of innovation become cheaper, agencies have a much bigger chance of actually being a part of the IP process than classically. So if the physical world becomes less important, digital gives more space for agencies to get into that space and create things which are really new. And I believe that this is of course totally different from what we have been talking about so far. I believe there might be a new advertising network from the East, just like Dentsu rose on the shoulders of large Japanese corporations which went global. I think there might be a Chinese advertising network which might ride on the new wave of Chinese enterprises which are now beginning to go global. It's the early days, but we might see that happening. I believe these are the 4 things that we need to do to be prepared for this future. The first thing I think we don't do at all, I think in advertising agencies we don't do it very well. We don't imagine scenarios of where we are headed. We don't do that. We are so busy in day-to-day, we don't really think about these things. We need to think about scenarios about what will happen when everything is thinking and everything is connected. Trust me, I work with people who are in the business of connecting everything and everyone. They also don't know. What will happen? They don't know. And if you look at some of the communication for these really big corporations, they say, imagine what will happen. Because they don't know. Nobody knows. So that's one thing we need to think about. What will really happen when everything is thinking and everything is connected? We need to think about how are people engaging with these technologies. What is the behavior? I think one of the best, simplest things to do is to look at some of the videos that Microsoft very diligently uploads on YouTube as visions of the future, and think about what will advertising be doing in this world. It really helps. It lends a perspective. Also think about what kind of fundamental behaviors will not change, whether we have digital everywhere or not, whether we are living in the physical world or not. Are we just going to be a consciousness? What kind of behavior will not change? I think that's another important question to ask ourselves. And I think we need to experiment more. As advertising agencies, we don't do that. We buy smaller companies, but we don't really innovate in-house. We need to create agencies inside agencies to really prototype ideas. What we are doing, in Ogilvy, it's a long way to go for us. We are trying very hard. There are 2 important things we are doing is we look at our business in 2 ways. Our brands and businesses that we work with need to have a purpose, which is based on intangibles, instinct, belief, which has no digital data to support actually. We try and work with our clients to give them that. And we also work on what we call as plan, which is essentially mapping the specifics of what the client needs to do. The left is why, and the right is what and how. So and a lot of digital application of digital technologies and tools comes in here, which helps us in doing that. Yep, that's it. Thank you so much. I hope I have not gone beyond that.